You got me open, I keep bleeding.
Hi, my name is Alex, and this is hopefully episode 1 of what will become the Folklore Fiber Knitting Podcast. I have been knitting off and on for a couple of years, but have really consistently started knitting again in the last, I'd say, 2-ish, 3 years. I live currently in Houston metro area in the South, but I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, so there is a really big fiber community there and the perfect weather really to wear hand knit things. And I am trying to find my knitting mojo being in a place that stays consistently 95 degrees or hotter for 11 months out of the year. It's been an adjustment, to say the least, but I just really am trying to find my own fiber community in fiber friends here in the South. So I figured I would record episode 1, and hopefully you guys will stick around and see what I'm working on and what I finished. So I figured that, at least for right now, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, if it's not obvious, that this would follow kind of a typical video podcast format where we start off with finished objects and then move on to whips and acquisitions or future plans, things like that. And for the readers out there, I'll put a little brief segment at the very end and kind of just talk about what I'm reading or what I'm excited for as far as new releases or series and things like that. I don't watch a whole lot of movies or TV shows, so it'll probably exclusively be reading, or maybe I'll add in some other fiber podcasts or things that I'm enjoying. Also, I'm going to try not to say, because I know that's, my co-host, Toast, is knocking you around. I will try not to say, because I know that's irritating for people to listen to, and also to try and figure out how to edit out of this. So, let's get into finished objects. Since this is episode 1, technically everything's a finished object, so I'm only going to show you the 2 most recent things that I have finished. So this summer has not really been very good for my knitting mojo. It has been incredibly hot, and I lost my twin brother at the beginning of summer, and that really put a damper on my creativity, I'll say. So I've only finished 2 things since April, and we're October 1st now. So I'm going to show you those 2 things, and then we'll get into what I've been working on. So let me see, what's the right side of this? This. My first finished object is called the Anica Shawl by Alina Appasova, who is a very good friend of mine. She is very talented designer and knitter in general. One day I strive to be at her level. Not necessarily with the designing, because I don't think that's my forte, but just her skill level is incredible. So this is one of her designs. I'm going to hold it closer. The lighting's not great because it's kind of a cloudy day here, but it's a garter stitch shawl knit. You start from one corner and increase and decrease to get this kind of asymmetrical triangle shawl. And it's, I don't know if you can tell, but it's very long, like longer than my wingspan is. Like I still have, it's hard to tell, but it's very long and it's incredibly squishy. I knit this with really deep stash. I don't know if you really be able to tell. I'll try and take some decent B-roll in better like natural light so you can see the colorways a little bit better, but this is very deep stash. It was, I believe the dyer was called Alexandra Dyes or Alexandra Dye Works, and it was the 2018 local yarn store day colorway from my old local yarn store in Washington, which was Blizzard Fiber Arts. I loved that place. It was very close to me, which sometimes was a good thing and sometimes was not, because I spent probably far too much time and money in there. But it was kind of one of those like single skeins that you get and you're trying to find the perfect project for it, and it ended up lingering for a long time. And I'd actually cast on a pair of socks with it, and it just was so beautiful that I didn't want to just make socks with it. And it's variegated enough that it really needed to be a simple pattern to really kind of let the yarn show, which I think this pattern really did. Let me see if I can show you in a little bit more detail, but it's got kind of a lace eyelet border and a picot bind off, and I absolutely enjoyed knitting this. I actually have plans to knit a second one. I loved it so much, and it flew off the needles. I think I used a US size 5. I believe that's a 3.75 millimeter. For anyone not in the US, don't quote me on that. And I think I knit it in probably a week, maybe a little bit less, but it was the right amount of like texture and things going on where it kept you engaged, but easy enough that it was potato chippy. And so I would listen to my audiobook or read my Kindle at night, and I would just knit, and it flew off the needles. My next finished object is inside out, so brief intermission. One moment, please. Oh, goodness. Toast is trying to attack my yarn that I have piled high around me. I'm sure he will make himself known momentarily, so if you are witnessing any earthquake shaking, I apologize for the seasickness. That is him being his normal menacing self. Let me just move this out of his way so as not to disturb his majesty. My last finished object that I'm going to show you is the Tumble tee by Lydia Morrow. And let me pull up my stats for this. So I knit a size 4 in this, which is just a top down. There's Toast. Sir, you gloriousness. Get down from there. This is just your basic top down stockinette stitch Raglan Tee, and she recommends a substantial amount of negative ease, and I didn't necessarily want to do that. So I think based on my measurements, my bust circumference, I was in between a size 1 and a size 2. Had I gone with her recommended negative ease, which I think, if I remember correctly, was like 6 inches of negative ease. And in Texas, things get very hot and very sweaty extremely fast. And this is made with 50% silk and 50% merino from the painted alpaca. I actually think I have her label here. The colorway is Dock Holiday. It was an absolute dream to knit with, and I would love a full sweater's quantity in this yarn. Yeah, I don't know if that'll be backwards or not, but that's her label. It's the colorway's Dock Holiday, and it's a 50-50 merino silk, 438 yards per 100 grams. So it's a very generous skein, and I had 2 of them that my friend Casey and I picked up at this little craft fair near like Bryan College Station area, for those of you in Texas. And I really wanted to make the most of it, but also I just didn't, you can see one of my little ends I didn't weave in all the way. I didn't want something to be super fitted and not get enough wear out of it, but also just to make the most of the 2 skeins that I had, because her version also is quite cropped. Like hers stops, I think, maybe an inch or 2 under her bust. Like, so it's very short and very form-fitting. And I wanted something a little bit more relaxed, because silk and merino are warm fibers. So I ended up knitting a size 4, which I think ended up giving me closer to 8 inches of positive ease, which I love. And if you can tell, well, with the nature of hand-dyed yarn, no 2 skeins are perfectly alike. So I had a very light skein and one that had a lot more of this plummy, like wine kind of color. And I decided to do sort of a fade instead of helical knitting in alternating skeins, mostly just because I really like the peachier color closer to my skin. I think the darker one would have been perfectly fine as well, but I just fancied that the day that I cast on. And I knit this on, I believe, a US size 3 for the ribbing, which is 3.25 millimeters, and a US size 5 for the body. And that was, I think, her recommended needle. So I think I met gauge. I think my gauge was a little bit loose, but I was fine with it because I knew A, I had enough yarn, and B, I didn't mind a more boxy, oversized fit. In the pattern, Lydia gives you options to do bust shaping and waist shaping, like decreases. I didn't do either one of those, mostly because I wanted a looser, baggier fit, and I was not blessed in the bust department, so we did not need that. The only other modification that I made other than sizing up and lengthening it was I lengthened the sleeves. And I know you can't really tell, but because I went up so many sizes, the yoke depth was deeper than it normally would be for my size. And so the sleeves start quite a bit longer. I think they start about here. And I knit them, I think they stopped like just above my elbow. And I found that is a really good length for me. I work in a law office, and so we need to be a little bit more, I guess, I don't want to say modest, but I can't necessarily wear short or sleeveless things unless something's over the top. And so that's kind of a good length for me, at least to wear for like a work piece. And I've worn it a lot in the office, and I like to pair it with just slacks or khakis. I find it looks really nice, and I'll try and take some B-roll footage of that as well, so you can kind of get a better idea and also see the fit. But so those are my only 2 finished objects that I'm going to show you today. Like I said, one this summer was a hard one, and everything's a finished object, so you guys have never seen anything before. So I will get moving on into whips, and if I'm looking to the side, I have some notes pulled up in front of me, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So my first whip that I'm going to show you is potentially going to be ripped out, and this is in it's called a Tenty little project bag. It's very cute. It's got a blue background and some beautiful little flowers and a little bird on it, and it's the perfect size for like single skein projects, socks, or single skein shawl or anything like that. And it's got drawstrings, which actually I love in a project bag. But my whip that I'm working, or that I have in here, is just a vanilla sock, and this is a Miss Babs yarn. Let me see if I can get, oh no, it's not actually, I lied. It's a Keenan Hand Dyed Yarn, and it is, let me see, it's 463 yards per 100 grams. It's 75/25 Superwash Merino nylon, and the colorway is Peony for your thoughts. Can you see that? And then here's her label. I'll put everything either on the screen if I can figure that out, or in the video description. But I love it. It's this really pretty peachy pink kind of base with red and yellow and magenta speckles throughout, and it's incredibly soft. I love it so much. The reason I say that this might not stay a whip is when my brother passed, I cast this on the airplane back home and knit it while I was up there doing funeral arrangements. And so, while I love the yarn and I love knitting socks, it makes me sad when I look at it. And I don't know if I want that. So, it's been on hold while I figure out if it will remain a whip or not. But for the sake of this video, I knit my socks on a US size 0 2mm needle, and I prefer a 40-inch cable and knit them magic loop. My typical sock is usually 58 or 60 stitches. I like a shorty pair also, partly because it's too hot. I don't need a long wool sock in the South. Even on our coldest days, I wouldn't wear them. And also, I have poor attention span, and so if I knit them too long, I get bored and they won't be done. So I did a half twisted rib, which I believe I did. Oh, I actually wrote notes for this. I cast on 60 stitches, did 10 rounds of a 1x1 twisted rib, 20 rounds for the leg, and a fish lips kiss heel, which I find fits my foot the best, even better than a heel flapping gusset. And I typically knit about 72 rounds for the foot, and then do a standard wedge toe. For these, I wasn't doing any contrast, anything. I just really needed something mindless to knit while the world was falling down around us. So I haven't decided yet if I am going to finish these. One way or another, this yarn is going to get used in something because it's stunning and I love it. But I just don't know if it'll be anytime soon. And I have half a mind to just put these on some barber cord and reclaim the needles until I decide. But I will let you know by the next episode what has become of those. Okay. My next object is, or my next whip, sorry, is in this bag that, here, let me tie this up so you can see. It's so cute. My stepmom got it for me for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. It's like a little bento bag. It's stunning. I'll have to ask her where she got it because this doesn't have a label on it, so I don't know if she got it in one of the knitting shops in Washington or if she ordered it online, but I will ask her and let you know. It's a beautiful floral pattern, and I don't really know what this is, like a woven canvasy type fabric and then just a plain cream line. But inside is another basic Raglan Tee, which is kind of in a odd spot to show you right now. It's really scrunched up on the needles, but I'm actually just got to where I'm going to split for the sleeves. And this is just a self-drafted Raglan Tee, honestly. I mean, there's nothing special. I am going to do a little bit shorter sleeves. I think I'm going to try and work out maybe how to do like some short row like cap sleeves. I think that would be really cute, but a fuller length in the torso. And this is yarn, I don't know if you can tell, sorry, the lighting is atrocious here. But it's a really beautiful creamy white base with a lot of purple and pink speckles or variations, and then little pops of color like inside. There's different like hot pinks and rusty oranges and bright yellows. It's gorgeous. And my dad got me this yarn for Christmas. It is the Little Foxes. He said he got it off of Etsy, so I'll try and link their shop and their Instagram also. It's in their Arctic fingering base. It's 100% Superwash Merino, 100 grams, 490 yards, 3-ply. The colorway is Summoning the Eternal Calm. So it's also, it's a little bit thinner of a fingering weight, but I haven't found any issues with that. I actually was able to get a really similar gauge to the Tumble tee that I knit with the painted alpaca yarn. And I think instead of doing a US size 5, I did a US size 4, but I kept the 3 for the ribbing. And I'm loving this. So this whole thing has knit up so fast. I'm finally, I think, starting to kind of get a little bit of my knitting spunk back, if you will. And this was knit basically in a weekend while I binge read on my Kindle. This is perfect, just stockinette project for that. And I'm gonna have more than enough yarn for this because I'm about halfway through. I just finished all the Raglan increases. I still have about 50% of the first skein and then all of the second, so I'm definitely gonna have leftovers. Oh, this actually shows you a really good representation of how just stunning this yarn is. I love it, and it's really soft. You can see some of those like hot pink speckles in there. It's gorgeous. So is that all I wanted to say about that? I think I am loving that it kind of matches the pinky and purple tones of this bag. I don't always match my project bags, mostly because I don't really have very many, but when I can, it brings me immense joy. Okay. My next whip has been a whip for a while. So I started it at a really inopportune time in Texas, aka March, where it is already starting to get hot. And it is a worsted weight pullover jumper. And it is the Flax Pullover by Tin Can Knits. And this is knit using the Juniper Moons, Juniper Moons Cotton Merino. It's organic cotton. It's a chainette yarn. Let me see if you can see that. So it's like a crochet chainette, and then the merino is blown through it. So you get this really pretty kind of like marley effect. It's gorgeous and ridiculously soft. I'm kind of picky about cotton yarns because I feel like a lot of them are really dry, and it gives me this weird sensation like if my hands could barf, they would if they touched it. It's, yeah. I know that probably makes me sound crazy, but for those of you who understand textural things, that cotton yarn gives me the ick, but this stuff is ridiculously soft. I have knit the whole body, and I've knit it a little bit long because I kind of want this to be an oversized jumper, kind of cozy, like pajama-esque, like at home type of sweatshirt feeling. So I believe I knit the size small or medium, and I've since finished the body and picked up for the first sleeve. I think this is the remnants of my third skein, which is kind of looking a little bit like yarn barf since this has been in hibernation since earlier this year, and I have 2 other 100-gram skeins, so I also definitely have enough yarn. And I'm starting to see a theme of over purchasing yarn, which kind of irritates me because I always end up with all these like random leftover amounts that they're too much to not use, but not necessarily enough to use in anything substantial, if that makes sense. But my goal for this sweater, since it has been in hibernation for so long, is to have it done by the next episode. And it should be doable because I have already picked up for the first sleeve, and it's knit on US size 8 for the body, and I think I did 6 for the ribbing. So it knits up incredibly fast, especially the sleeve circumference. And there's a couple of decreases in the sleeve, so I feel like if I just sat down for a couple of evenings, this could be done in no time. And I just had such a mental block about knitting a worsted weight, woolly, fuzzy jumper while it was 100 degrees outside and my hands were sweaty. But now that it's finally starting to hopefully cool off, and I say cool off because it's, I think, 95 degrees today on October 1st in the south, which is criminal if you ask me, but hopefully I will have this done by the next time we talk. And I'm really mostly looking forward to wearing it when I go back home at the end of December, early January, and go frolic in the snow in my pretty sweater. So, brief tea intermission, please. What's next? Oh, this poor shawl. Listen, I don't know sometimes where my mind goes, but I stole the needles off of this shawl to knit the ribbing on that purple Raglan Tee, and I just haven't put them back on because they were the US size 3, but It is the very, very beginnings of the Minimalist Shawl by Melanie Rice. And this is knit using, let me see, Fox and Feather yarn in their petal sock, and the colorway is Mushroom. And it is like a grayish base with like the most beautiful like moth wing brown and really light dusky petal pink variegation in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, Fox and Feather no longer dye, and I am distraught by it because I could use several sweater quantities in this specific petal sock base. It is a, let me see, 55% BFL, 45% silk. It's a light fingering. It's, I would say, closer to a lace than a fingering weight. It's 675 yards per 100 grams. But it's absolutely gorgeous. And I really can't wait to see it knit up. I mean, can't really tell, but I feel like it will be scrumptious, especially because of the silk content in here. I love silk, if you haven't told by this in the painted alpaca. Oh, and it's in my tiny little Molly Klein design bag that I won as a knit along gift or knit along prize, I think back in 2017, 2018. Don't mind all the cat hair on everything. Kind of the norm when you have a fuzzy cat. He's a ragdoll Maine Coon mix, so he's a large boy with a lot of hair. So, the last whip that I'm going to show you, thank God, because I know we're all probably over that. I didn't realize how many I had. No wonder nothing's getting done. But these are a pair of like waffle knit socks. Let me get untangled here for you. Oh, wrong direction, Alex. Wrong direction. Which are also knit on Chowgu US size 0 2mm needles, a 40-inch cable on magic loop. And there's no pattern necessarily for this. It's just like a waffle knit stitch, like a broken rib. The yarn is, let me see, Heathered Handmade, colorway Little Old Me, and it's the standard sock set. It is 75-25 merino, superwash merino and recycled nylon, 437 yards per 100 grams. It did come with a dark blue mini, but I decided I wanted to use that for something else. It was like that color, like one of the navy, and so I just opted to do no contrast for this. Though I'm looking at it and it might be fun to do a contrast too, but I think I might do it in that pink instead. I have some leftovers of some other projects in a color that's pretty close to that, and I think that would be really cute. But it's absolutely gorgeous colorway and kind of reminds me of this book that my mom and dad used to read to me when I was little. I think it was called Mama, Do You Love Me? And it was about an Alaskan Native mother and her child, and they went on these grand adventures to determine how much love she had. But there was one of the pictures in the book was kind of like a stylized depiction of like the aurora borealis, and that's kind of what this gives me, is like a wintry night sky northern lights vibe, which I absolutely love. I'm knitting these either for myself or for my mother-in-law, probably my mother-in-law, for Christmas, and they're 64 stitches. Like I said, a US size 0, 2mm needle, magic loop, 40-inch cable. I think I did about 10 rounds for the cuff, and I did for 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28 rounds for the leg. And her and I thankfully wear the same size shoe, so I know they'll fit without her having to try them on and spoiling the surprise. But if I don't keep these, they are going to her, and I think she would really like them. But this is sock number 1. I'm probably about halfway through the foot now, and I'm really liking them. They also went on a brief hiatus while I was working out my knitting funk this summer. So I actually did all of the foot last week. They've kind of been my meeting knitting or like carpool line knitting, that kind of thing. So I'm actually knitting up really fast. And this is in my little Delique bag, like little snap, like wristlet bag. It's got a really pretty striped lining fabric, and then the outside's just this really pretty like charcoal gray. It's got a little pocket on the back, and then I don't know if you can see that, Delique, but I love it. I think this is their linen one, and it's really, really nice actually. I kind of want a bigger sized one maybe for sweaters and things of that nature. So that is all of the whips that I have. I want to talk a little bit about some upcoming plans and a recent acquisition. So for those of you that are not interested in that, thank you so much for sticking around this long, and I promise I will get better at this and not ramble and mumble so much. But it's been a little bit odd sitting here talking to myself for the last 40 minutes. So thank you so much for joining in if you're not interested in the acquisitions and reading updates, for those of you who are sticking around for that. Let's kind of get into it. So my acquisition and my future plans kind of coincide with each other. I try not to have a really large stash, mostly because of space constraints, but also I have found, especially, with this yarn, that we buy all of these beautiful things and we need that perfect project, that perfect pattern to go along with it. And for me, that just means the yarn lingers. And my husband and I bought our house earlier this year, and it gave me kind of an awakening when I was packing up my yarn stash, honestly, because there were so many beautiful things that I saw in there, and I'm like, wow, those were so me, 8 years ago, which is a shame because they're beautiful, and I feel like if I had used more of them sooner, I would have gotten a lot more enjoyment out of them when they were fresh, new, and they sparked that joy. So I'm on a mission to use all of the beautiful things in my stash and only buy yarn for designated projects. This is a plan and not a hard and fast rule, because there's always exceptions to every rule, especially when you buy yarn. So with that being said, these are 2 very deep stash yarns. The color is not showing up accurately. Maybe if I bring it back here, no. I'll insert either a picture or some B-roll so you can see, but it's a really beautiful, deep plummy, like Merlot kind of color. And these are also deep stash. I think I purchased these in 2019 at the Houston Fiber Fest when I was visiting my mom here. It is Stellar Needlecraft. The owner, it says, is Laura Nielsen, and she's on Etsy at stellarneedlecraft.etsy.com. This is the Stellar sock base in the color Blood Wine. It's a 75-25 merino nylon blend, 463 yards, 100 grams. I have 2 of them that have been sitting, lingering, and sad in my stash for years. 6 years now, which is terrible. So, I really want to knit the Hobbiton vest by Fable Knitwear. I think I'm only going to need 1 of these, but I also have half a mind to kind of make it long, like boyfriend cardigan length, and not like hit at the top of your pants like hers is, because hers is also quite cropped. But for that pattern, you need a suri or mohair thing to hold with it. So while I was out running errands today, I stopped by a new to me yarn store called The Modern Skein, and it's in Conroe, Texas. It was a fabulous shop. The lady that was in there helping me was incredibly kind and sweet. And they have a shop kitten. Well, I think she's full grown, but everything's kitten sized to me because I have a cat the size of a small dog. Her name was Suri. She was so sweet and petite. But I got this to go with it. I'm thinking it's coming up a lot more gray, but it's a very dusty, like antique rose kind of color. It's definitely cool toned, but I want to use this for sure because it is the most beautiful feeling I have ever felt. I'm kind of sensitive to mohair, so this actually is a Suri alpaca. It's 41%, let me see, 41% alpaca, 35% silk, 13% merino, 10% yak. And it's gorgeous. It's by, let me see here, Red Stag Fiber, and it's their Ducky Suri base. It's 437 yards per 50 gram, and the colorway is the Royal Ballet. So, for the Hobbiton vest, I'm thinking either these 2 together, or my other option is this Yoshi and Lucy yarn in, I don't even know what that says actually. It's the Isabel base, but it looks like the colorway is called Dork Magic. Is that right? It's a 75-25 merino nylon, 463 yards, 100 grams, but it's gorgeous. It's like a gunmetal gray kind of color or base with every imaginable speckle you could possibly find. So I think what I'm going to do is swatch with both, because I have more than enough yarn for both. I think it calls for my size, which I'm in between a size 1 and a size 2, so I think I'm just gonna go with the size 2 for safety, and I have more than enough yarn. But you only need 80 grams of a fingering weight and 40 grams of a lace weight held together. So we think those would honestly be stunning, but these would be really pretty too. So I don't know yet. If you have any opinions on what you think would be best, let me know, and I might swatch with both and see what I like the best. Because the Hobbiton is knit in like a seed stitch, and maybe that might kind of lose some of the fun specklies in this. I also was thinking maybe getting another skein of this and using them together and knitting I think it's the Oslo hat or maybe the Musselburgh hat. So I think that would be like really pretty, and it's neutral-ish, you know, maybe the base is neutral, so that counts, right? But I'm undecided on that. However, the Hobbiton will be cast on post-haste because I have this unquenchable need for like some kind of dark academia like vest vibe in my life right now. Not that it's the weather for it here, because like I said, it's 95 degrees and 1.5% humidity. So there's that. Oh, my last future plan, technically, and it's in its infancy, I have an obscene number of these Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Onyx Heather worsted skeins, little 50-gram skeins. And my mom really wants like a cardigan. So I'm thinking that I will knit her one in this because I know that it washes well and wears well, because I've knit a couple of sweaters in Wool of the Andes for myself and for other people. And it's also cheap, so like if something happens to it, I wouldn't be heartbroken. Like if I had used $40, $30 hand-dyed yarn. But I'm thinking that I want to knit her a cardigan, and because I have so many of them, she is a tall woman. I was not blessed with her height, but she's like 5'10", 5'11", incredibly tall, stunning. She also likes like boyfriend length cardigans and longer sleeves because she likes to cuff her sleeves, and I have more than enough for that. So I don't have a particular pattern in mind yet, but if you know anything like that, and it doesn't necessarily need to have buttons, like a button placard, like she loves a good shawl collar too. So I haven't started this yet, but I'm looking for pattern recommendations if you have any of them for a worsted weight cardigan, or potentially a pullover. I just think that she would get more use out of a cardigan, especially here, and she wants it to kind of be her like work sweater where she can just kind of hang it over her chair. So that Onyx Heather will also be a really good fit for her because it's neutral and won't, like if she needs to throw it on for a meeting or something, it's not like she has to worry about it being like bright blue or neon or something like that. She would not wear neon at all. But that's all I have for you for acquisitions and future plans. The only other thing that I think I'm going to talk about today, because I'm sure this is rambling and long as it is what I'm reading. And I'm so excited about it. I love reading so much. The only bummer about this particular book is I got a physical copy and not an ebook. And that's probably the only time you'll hear me say that, because I can knit and read on my Kindle at the same time, and even knit and read on my iPad at the same time. I cannot do that with physical books. So you have to hold them open and flip pages and all of that, and I do not possess the extra set of arms or the skills for that. But this is The Robin on the Oak Throne by K.A. Lind. It's the second book in the series, and I don't know what the series is called actually. I think it's called The Holly and Oak King. The first one was The Wren and the Holly Library, and I read that last year and was distraught to find out that the second book wasn't out yet. I think I binged it in like a day and a half. It was fantastic, and the characters in it just, oh god, they're so good. So it's centered around this kind of like urban fantasy I don't even want to say dystopian, but like dystopian-esque New York City. So the monsters, aka, you know, supernaturals and magic-y things, have come out of the woodwork and created what they called the Monster War. So you've got, you know, werewolves and vampires and sorcerers and you name it, like all vying for turf and just destroying things left, right, and center. And the first book kind of starts post-Monster War, where there are very clear boundaries between neighborhoods and where humans shall not venture, let's say. And there's this thing called the Monster Treaty, which I assume is like Treaty of Versailles-esque, like we will stop war if you don't do X, Y, and Z, right? So our main chick, Kierce, is a sticky-fingered little thief who finds herself on a perilous adventure to procure a magical item. And that is all I'll say. For those of you who have not read it, please read it. It's so good. This is book number 2. It picks up right where we left off. I just got it in the mail, and it's got beautiful, like, sprayed edges. Oh, it's stunning. And it's going to be my weekend read. I just actually finished a reread of The Wren and the Holly Library because it has been about a year since I read it, and I wanted to kind of refresh myself on the characters and the stories while this was on its way to me. But now that I have finished, this will be devoured ASAP, and I just am disgustingly excited about it. It's absolutely... Oh my god, wait. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Hold on. I have to show you. Look how beautiful that is. Wow. For those of you who aren't readers, I apologize. But for those of you who are, look, there's Kierce. I'll love ya, girl. Stunning. I'm so excited. I'm even more excited to read this now. And I no longer regret buying a physical copy of this, because how could you when it is so beautiful? But that is all for me today. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble and talk about my knitting and my books and dealing with Hurricane Toast and his camera shaking antics. He's currently sleeping underneath me with a stolen skein of yarn. So I'm going to go rescue my yarn from him, and hopefully I will see you soon. Bye.
You got me up and I keep reading, I keep